The old town of Grimford sat beside the rushing waters of the Norvale River, a lifeline for the community for centuries. Known for its serene beauty, the river shimmered under the moonlight, its surface rippling like silver threads. Yet, beneath its tranquil facade, the river held a dark secret, whispered in hushed tones by the town's elders. Years ago, a devastating flood had swept through Grimford, destroying homes, fields, and lives. Legend had it that during the chaos, a young woman named Illyra, shunned by the town for reasons lost to time, was caught in the torrent. The villagers, fearful and consumed by the storm's wrath, had ignored her cries for help. She was swept away, her body never found. It was said that Illyra's spirit lingered, bound to the river that had claimed her. Generations later, the story of Illyra became a tale told to children, a caution against venturing too close to the river's edge. But as years passed, strange occurrences began to disturb the peace of Grimford. Fishermen spoke of hearing faint whispers carried on the breeze, voices calling their names, though no one was there. At night, some claimed to see a pale figure standing on the riverbank, her white dress fluttering in the wind, only to vanish the moment anyone approached. One fateful autumn, a group of teenagers decided to test the legend. They were drawn to the thrill of the unknown, dismissing the stories as nothing more than folklore. On a dare, they ventured to the river at midnight, armed with flashlights and bravado. The night was eerily quiet, the usual chirping of crickets and rustling of leaves strangely absent. As the group laughed nervously, the air grew colder, and a dense mist began to rise from the water. One of them, a boy named Marcus, suddenly froze. His flashlight beam landed on a shadowy figure standing on a rock in the middle of the river. Her face was obscured, but her presence was undeniable. The group fell silent, their courage evaporating. Marcus, compelled by something he couldn't explain, stepped closer to the edge. The figure turned, revealing hollow eyes and a face pale as the moonlight. A whisper cut through the silence, "Why didn't you save me?" Marcus stumbled backward, his friends pulling him away from the water's edge. The figure dissolved into the mist, leaving only the sound of the river rushing faster, louder, as if angry. They ran, abandoning their flashlights and leaving behind an unnatural chill that clung to their skin. The next morning, Marcus was nowhere to be found. His parents, frantic with worry, led a search party to the river. They scoured the area for hours, finding no trace of him until dusk. It was then that they discovered his shoe lodged between two rocks near the riverbank, its laces soaked with water. The villagers whispered among themselves, fear spreading like wildfire. They knew what had taken him. In the weeks that followed, the river seemed to grow darker, its waters clouded as if holding secrets it refused to release. More whispers emerged of strange sightings and an overwhelming sense of dread near its banks. Fishermen reported their nets being pulled violently, as if something below the surface was trying to drag them in. One man, a skeptic by nature, scoffed at the tales and decided to prove the river was just a river. He ventured out alone at dusk, rowing to the center of the water. He never returned. The town's priest, Father Alden, decided it was time to confront the evil. Armed with prayers and holy water, he led a small group to the river under the full moon. They carried lanterns that flickered against the oppressive darkness, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. As they approached the river's edge, the air grew thick, the sound of rushing water deafening. Father Alden knelt, muttering prayers, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his heart. The group gasped as the mist parted, revealing Illyra's ghostly figure. She stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the priest. He raised the vial of holy water, his voice growing louder with each word. But Illyra raised her hand, and the vial shattered, the fragments disappearing into the water. The wind howled, carrying her mournful cry, "You left me to die." The group fled, abandoning their lanterns, and the priest, who remained rooted in place, his faith the only shield against her wrath. The townsfolk heard his voice echo across the water for hours, praying until it was silenced by an unnatural stillness. When dawn broke, the priest was found kneeling at the river's edge, his face pale and his hair streaked with white. He was alive but spoke only in riddles, his mind fractured by the encounter. The river, however, was calm once more, its surface reflecting the sunlight as if nothing had happened. Grimford's people, now too terrified to approach the water, moved their lives further inland. The river, once their source of life and livelihood, became a haunting reminder of their past. They avoided it, speaking of Illyra only in whispers, afraid to draw her attention. Over time, Grimford became a shadow of its former self, its fields overgrown and its streets empty. But the Norvale River remained, its dark waters flowing ceaselessly, a silent witness to the sins and sorrows of the town. And on quiet nights, when the wind blew just right, the people swore they could hear her voice, carried on the breeze, a chilling lament for a life unjustly lost.